everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea, and today we're going to be doing a video on how I get my glowy foundation look. So I love glowy skin, I love healthy looking skin, and over the years I feel like I have figured out what look works really good with my skin, and that's a base that looks very vibrant, healthy, and glowy. Not like greasy, but glowy and healthy, because you know we all want glowy and healthy skin. I'll have some tips in here for people who are dry skin, normal skin, combo, and oily. So I feel like the tips that I'm going to offer you all will help for any type of skin type, not just those that have dry skin or normal skin, because I know sometimes when we think glowy skin, dewy skin, we kind of automatically categorize that for people who have normal and dry skin. But I have learned that these tips can work for any skin type. We just got to tweak it a little bit. So definitely stay tuned throughout the video so that potentially you could pick up some tips that might help you achieve that more healthy looking skin look. So if this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video and taking time out of your day to watch my video. I'd love for you to stick around and subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me. And if you are a returning subscriber, you know I'm so appreciative of every one of you. Thank you so much for watching my videos, supporting my channel, and just consistently coming back and leaving your comments. I thoroughly appreciate it. So let's just get right into the video. So first off, and I am going to do a separate video on this, but the first recommendation that I have for you to get that glowy, healthy looking skin is honestly your skincare. Water, drinking your water, I'm working on that. And really having a good skincare regimen to really help your skin, because I was told by this one makeup artist, and what she said was completely and utterly true. Your makeup is only going to look as good as your skin does, and that's just the truth. We can't get around it. We try to use makeup to cover up our skin, but at the end of the day, if you don't have healthy looking skin, we're gonna see it no matter what foundation you use. So that's my first step. But aside from that, you want to get some products that you really know work for your skin. And there's a lot of suggestions, there's a lot of recommendations, but you got to do a little bit of work to figure out what works for your skin, what your skin likes, and so forth. So let's start off with primer. I am a firm believer of primer because I do like giving some type of barrier between my actual skin and my foundation. So the primers that I use two primers typically every time that I do my makeup. I use a primer to conceal my pores, and then I use a more illuminating primer because that's what I like, and I think that helps me to get that glowy look without having to use the most dewy type of foundation. So today I'm going to use the Benefit Porefessional primer. I received this recently from Beautylish. It was a sample that they sent me, and I actually really like it. This is my first time ever having this primer, but I do think it helps to conceal my pores, and I like the texture of it too. It doesn't pill up under my foundation. A good drugstore recommendation for a really good pore reducing primer is the Revlon pore reducing primer. I absolutely love this. I use this all the time on my channel, especially if you ever check the description box. You'll see this time and time again. Love it. I'm just trying the Benefit now because it's newer, so that's why I use that today. Okay, so I mostly have pores on my forehead and right around my cheeks, and then just a little bit in this area. So that's where I put the Benefit primer. Now I'm going to go in with my illuminating primerish product, and my favorite right now is the Milani Soft Glow Complexion Enhancer, and I love this because it doesn't make my skin look greasy, but it gives me an illumination. So I literally put this all over my face. Now, if you have oily skin, I still think you might like this. I really do, because look at my skin. It doesn't look greasy, doesn't look like oily or anything. I've actually worn this throughout the day by itself, didn't set it, and my face does not look greasy at the end of the day. So I really think this is a good illuminating primerish product that even people with oily skin would like and enjoy, that would give them that boost of radiance under their more matte foundations. But I really, really love this. I've heard that this is a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Wonder Glow primer, product, and I actually would agree with it because I've owned that one before, and then I've owned it, and then I recently got a sample of it to try it again, and I really do think these products are very much similar in terms of the finish that they leave on the face. Okay, so now we're going to go in with foundation. I'm actually testing out a new foundation, so I'll be using today the Dior Airflash foundation. I have mine in the shade 4.5 in, and the foundation recommendation that I would make for you if you have normal or dry skin, go for a more dewy foundation, but don't use a foundation that's extremely dewy. I would say go for like maybe a luminous foundation. There we go, luminous foundation. Like the Anastasia Beverly Hills luminous foundation. That one I absolutely love because it is luminous on the skin, not dewy. If you have more combination oily or oily skin, go for one of your more like satin matte foundations. So not like Estee Lauder Double Wear or Fenty Beauty, the original foundation. Don't go for something like that because those types of foundations are just extremely matte. If you have more of like a satin matte foundation, I would say go for a foundation like that. Oh, a drugstore recommendation that I want to recommend is the Physicians Formula, the Healthy Foundation. This foundation is amazing for giving you that beautiful, healthy looking skin. The finish of this is going to be more satin. So it's not gonna be a matte foundation. And at the end of the day, I usually do have to blot, but it does hold up very well. So I would highly recommend this foundation. If you already have it, definitely use it. If you have combination oily skin or oily skin, I don't know, it might be a little too dewy for you, but I would say check it out because it is a beautiful foundation on the skin. Okay, so now I will go ahead and apply my foundation. That is the only way that I can apply this foundation because I feel like this foundation just costs way too much money to waste it. So I don't want to apply it directly onto my sponge and just soak up product. So as you can see, this foundation is not dewy in terms of I'm not out here, you know, like beaming to the sun, but it's not dry and it does leave me with a very nice, beautiful finish. Very nice, beautiful finish. I'm just gonna add a little bit more on my cheeks. Okay, so next in my steps of glowy skin, I go for the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. I love this. I'm not gonna go into why I love this because I've raved about this so many times. But choose an illuminator that you like. If you wanted to, you could actually go back in with the Milani Soft Glow and use it for the same reason that I'm using, or in the same fashion that I'm using this Flawless Filter. I'm using my sponge, but I actually like to use a brush to blend this in. So the type of illuminator I would suggest for this step is one that does not have any glitter. It is straight, just pure illumination, because the goal that we're going for is healthy skin. Healthy skin does not look like glitter, right? Like, that's not skin-like unless you're a unicorn. And if that's the case, then go ahead. Use yourself a glittery illuminator. But you want to go for a product that is just glowy. So as you can see, when you look at my cheeks and the high points of my face, I have glowy skin. Just beautiful, glowy, juicy goodness. I feel like I've drank a whole bunch of water, and I haven't. Alright, so now I'm going to go in with my concealer, and the concealer that I like for my skin type, especially under my eyes because they are a little bit more dry than really the rest of my face, I like concealers that are more hydrating. They don't have to be dewy, but definitely more hydrating. So my favorite right now is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Away concealer, but my other two favorites that I will consistently reach for will be the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I use this in the shade Caramel, and then the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. I use the shade Medium Dark. And the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Away, I use the shade 910. So all three of these foundations are going to be ones that are not gonna dry out my under eye. The color of the foundation I like for my skin complexion, so it doesn't leave me with like a stark, overly bright highlighted look, but it definitely does highlight my face and it gives me more of like a natural highlighted look, which is the types of concealers that I go for. I would say if you have combination oily or oily skin, you could still go for a concealer that is a little bit more hydrating, because we're going to set the concealer. And so because we're going to set the concealer with powder, I think you still could go for a concealer that's more hydrating versus one that's extremely matte, that's going to make you look more dry. And any of these foundations, any of these concealers, I think would work really well with oily skin. I used to have really oily skin, and my favorite, even with the oily skin, was the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. So that's my recommendation for that with that skin type. All right, so let's go to set our face. So I love using the Hourglass Veil Translucent Powder to set my under eyes. My other favorite is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Powder. I'm almost out of that one, so that's why I'm using the Hourglass one. I will say I do not have drugstore recommendations for powders, and if you do have any drugstore recommendation for powders, please let me know, because I would love to find some really good ones that are inexpensive. Number one, for me to purchase, but then two, to also recommend, because I love drugstore and I love high-end and luxury makeup. I like to have a mix of them. But I just haven't found any that I really like, so I'm just going to stick with what I like. But like I said, if you have any recommendations, definitely let me know. Now, what I love about this Hourglass powder is that it sets my under eye, but it doesn't look dry. You can tell that I've got powder on, especially compared to this side, but it doesn't look dry. It doesn't make my under eye look crepey. And I don't think that it exaggerates the fine lines that I have under my eyes. Also, when I'm putting my powder on, I'm not putting a ton of powder on. I'm literally setting. We're not baking, because we're not trying to dry out the face. We just want to set it. Now, if you have oily skin and you're like, I have to set my face and I gotta bake, how about just cutting back on your baking time? So instead of, maybe baking the whole time that you're doing your eyeshadow, maybe only bake for like 5 minutes or so, because I get it. You gotta prolong your makeup. So yeah, don't bake as long. Just cut down on your baking. Okay guys, sorry about this whole video. My camera keeps dying because I did not fully charge my battery like I should have, so I'm doing like these little piece and cut and paste charging little breaks. So I hope I have enough video or enough space, enough little juice to get me through the rest of this video, because we don't have that much left. But while I was waiting for the battery to charge, I went on ahead, did my eyes and my brows, but that was it. I didn't do anything else to the face, because that's the whole purpose of this video. So let's pick up where we left off. So I applied my Hourglass Veil Translucent Powder under my eyes and down my T-zone. So right here, my forehead, down my nose, and then along my chin area. And that's where I like to apply that powder, because it is translucent, but it's not gonna give me flashback. And like I had mentioned earlier, I love that powder because it doesn't dry out my under eyes, but it definitely does set and keep my concealer in place. So then I'm gonna go in with my other favorite primer, and this is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Loose Setting Powder. I have mine in the shade Honey, and I love to set the rest of my face with this powder. Now, this powder is more of a mattifying primer. If I can say primer. This powder is more of a mattifying powder, but I'll show you how I use it so it doesn't make my face look dry and too heavy. So I take my damp sponge and I place my sponge directly into the powder. So this is what I get. So I'm not getting a lot, and then I tap off the excess on the back of my hand, and then I go in and press that powder into my face. So what I like doing this, I'm just going back and forth, and every time I go back into the powder, I tap off the excess on my hand. Why I like doing this is because I get enough powder to set my face, but I do not get cake face, and I still am able to maintain some of that glowiness that I have laid down with, the primer, the actual foundation, and also my illuminating primer. Notice that I'm not putting powder in this area of my face, because I want to keep that area nice and dewy looking and nice and radiant. Now, if you have oily skin and you feel like, sis, I'm gonna need to set the whole face, then go ahead and set your whole face. But try using this technique and seeing if, you know, it gives you enough, that allows you to have enough powder to set your face, but it doesn't make your face look too dry. I would say definitely try it. Damp sponge, tapping off the excess on the back of your hand. Okay, so this is my base, and as you can see, I'm looking at myself in the mirror here. My base is definitely dewy, and it's glowy. I don't even want to say dewy, because dewy, I feel like when I think dewy, I think more greasy. This is not greasy. This is just radiant skin that I think looks really nice and healthy. And once again, whether you have dry skin, normal skin, combination oily or oily skin, I think these tips can really help you achieve that radiant look. If you have excessively dry skin, then maybe you don't want to set your face with a powder. You don't have to, especially if you find a foundation that works well with you without setting it. Go ahead and skip this step. Don't set it at all. Just leave your face as is. If you do like to set your face with a powder, then like I said, I think these tips would be really helpful to set your face but not make it too matte and dry. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my, I'm going to apply my bronzer and my blush, and then we'll come back and do highlight and finish off the face. Okay, so I've applied my bronzer and my blush. I used the Fenty Beauty Sunstalker bronzer. I had that in the shade Caramel Cutie. I was like, I should know this shade by now. And then I used the Mented Cosmetics blush in the shade Peach for the Stars. It's a beautiful shimmery peach blush. So now we're gonna go in with highlight. Here we go. So I'm gonna use the highlighter that I love the most right now. You all probably have already guessed it, the Rose All Day highlighter by Physicians Formula. This is in the shade Freshly Picked. And my recommendation for the highlighter that you choose, because this is going to aid in this glowy, healthy skin, choose a highlighter that does not have sparkle or too much sparkle, that is more of a sheer highlight. Like when I say sheer, not sheer in color, but like pure highlight. So when you look at this highlight, let me darken up the swatch so you all can see it. When you look at this highlight, and hopefully you can see it right here on my wrist, it is just sheer goodness of a highlight. It's no chunky particles in it or anything like that, because when you go to apply your highlight, you just want to have a glowy highlight, not a chunky, glittery highlight, because once again, we're trying to go for glowy, radiant skin, and chunks of glitter does not resemble glowy, radiant skin. So I like to use this highlight. I love the color of this highlight, and once again, it gives me that finish that I want of just pure highlight, and I think it looks beautiful on top of the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. So I just apply my highlight on the high points of my cheeks, on my nose, and then up through my nose into a bit of my forehead, and then right around my Cupid's bow and my chin. That's how I do my highlight. So nothing complex or anything, but I definitely apply highlight where light is gonna bounce off my face and radiate my face. And I just, y'all, that highlight is just, it speaks to me. Like, it is by far my favorite highlight of the year. Okay, so let me apply a lip real quick so we can finish off this look. So for my lip, I used the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit lipstick, or yeah, it is a lipstick. I'm like, is it a lipstick? This is in the shade Berry Down Low. And then the last step of like my dewy, well, glowy, keep saying dewy, but more glowy face base is going to be my setting spray. So I am loving right now the Lila B Aglow Face Mist. This face mist does the perfect job of just leaving my skin beautiful, glowy, not oily at all. This is an oil-based face mist. It does have lavender oil in it. So if you have oily skin, I would recommend using a face mist that does not have oil, but that is definitely more illuminating. Try it. Just try it. If you try it and you don't like it, then, you know, just set your face with your normal setting spray, but I think you'll still have the effect from the products that you use. A drugstore recommendation for a face mist that I would recommend would be this L'Oreal Shake and Glow Dew Mist. It is beautiful on the skin, leaves your skin looking nice and radiant without the greasiness. It actually says on here the finish is going to be natural looking and non-greasy. Love this dew mist. So I would recommend this for a drugstore option to the Lila Beeb one. They're not dupes. I wouldn't say that they're dupes, but I really love the finish of both of them. And like I said, if you have oily skin, you've tried these products and they're just a little too dewy for you, then just go with your normal setting spray mist, and I'm sure that will definitely still leave you looking nice and radiant without making you look too oily. So I'm gonna go apply the Lila Beeb. I am literally at like my last wit's end for this, but no worries, because we got our backup ready. Love this stuff. And then what I do is after I spray my face, I love to, oh, look at that, take my damp sponge and just press the mist into my face, because number one, I don't want any water droplets actually drying on my face as the actual droplets. And I feel like this helps the illuminating spray to actually sink into the skin and once again aid in that more glowy, radiant look. So guys, this is the finished look, and like I said, I love this type of look for my face. I feel like it makes my face look really nice and healthy. My skin looks healthy, it looks radiant. I don't feel like I look overly made up either, because I didn't use a heavy full coverage foundation, you know, a whole bunch of powder or anything of that nature. I used more products that will allow my skin to show through, so you still see, you know, the texture that I have on my face, but the radiance that I've added to my face makes my skin look more healthy and radiant, and I love this type of skin look. Like, this is my go-to routine. The difference obviously might be, you know, I'll use a different foundation, I might use a different primer, but the primer is still going to be a pore reducing primer, still going to use my illuminating base product, and I'm still going to reach for those products that really complement my skin and really make my skin look more healthy and radiant than caked up and made up. Those looks, in my opinion, are great for occasions, but on an everyday basis, I think we all just want radiant looking, healthy skin. Hey everybody, so I wanted to do a check-in, just real impromptu, about, I just wanted to do a check-in to show you all what my face looks like after 6 hours of having the foundation on. I know it's not a full day, because usually I think of like a full day wear test around 8 or plus hours. So I've had these products on for almost 7 hours. So I do think that is a good amount of time to allow you to see how these products work. So I have pretty normal skin. I do get a little oily right around here. As you can see, I do have some oils coming through right around this area, but the rest of my skin is pretty normal. And as you can see, I am a bit dewy, but I do not feel like my face looks overly dewy to where I look greasy. Like, I would go ahead and blot. So I'm just going to take a brush that I usually have powder on, because I'm gonna be washing my brushes like I should. Shh, don't say nothing. But if I went in here and just, you know, took a little bit of powder, blotted here, right around in my T-zone area, I feel like I've touched it up, and I could definitely keep this makeup on for a few more hours easy. So I just wanted to show you how these products work together, so that even if you have oily combination skin or oily skin, like I said, if you manipulate these products just a bit to accommodate your skin type, you're not going to be walking around looking excessively oily, dewy, greasy. You'll definitely have radiance. If you have oily skin or combo oily skin, you'll want to blot, obviously, because most people with oily skin don't want to look greasy. But as you can see, I still have a nice glow going on. I think my skin still looks really nice and healthy. And yeah, like, this is the look that I really like to go for. And I just wanted to show you all kind of how it wears throughout the day. So if you find a foundation that you really like, that you feel like, okay, you know, I think this could fit for what, you know, I was talking about, this is pretty much how the glowy products are gonna look after some time and somewhere, especially if you end up having these exact products at home or ones that are very similar to it. So that's it. These are my tips and recommendations. I hope that you found them helpful. And if you have any other questions about what I'm doing that I may not have answered, definitely let me know. I'd love to help you with that. And if you have recommendations for how you achieve your radiant looking healthy skin, definitely leave them in the comments below, because I can learn from them and the rest of us can learn from them, so we can all just have beautiful, radiant, juicy looking skin. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye guys.